Hello, welcome to the MMQB NFL podcast. I'm Conor, and that's Albert Breer. Albert, quick, name 5 Bad Bunny songs. Go.
You know, the first I had heard of Bad Bunny was about 10 o'clock Eastern last night. So I'm glad I'm keeping up with the kids.
I think Bad Bunny.
That was a bad moment for me. Like the Super Bowl halftime show, I had never heard of the performer. Like I don't know how many more of those sorts of revelations of my age and how like disconnected I am from, have you ever seen that episode of The Simpsons where like grandpa goes like it's something along the lines of like, then I realized I wasn't with it. And after that, what it was became scary and weird. And I feel like I'm like kind of getting there, Hold on, I'm gonna look that up.
I think that this was a resounding victory, and I'll tell you why.
Here it is.
You got one?
No, it's Abe Simpson. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it anymore, and what it is seems scary and weird. It'll happen to you.
I don't know if I can name a Bad Bunny song, but I know of Bad Bunny.
So you got me beat.
I think I got you beat there. I thought that this was a resounding victory for the NFL because I had this panic in the back of my mind that they were going to go country, like a country all-star fest, and that was very concerning to me. So the fact that
I bought briefly, I bought into it being Taylor Swift.
I had heard Adele, and here's what made me
briefly
mad.
I bought into Taylor Swift because somebody had mentioned when she went on like the New Heights podcast that she had left, like dropped hints, like they talked about sourdough, the games in San Francisco. There were like, I guess,
what does sourdough have to do with San Francisco? Does it sound the same?
Huh?
It just sounds similar.
Wait a minute, I thought you were being sarcastic. You don't know sourdough. So I don't know who Bad Bunny is, and you don't know that sourdough bread's from San Francisco. So we're even now.
That's where they start. Sourdough bread started in San Francisco.
I don't know if it started in San Francisco, but San Francisco is known for sourdough bread. Yeah.
This is like we're like two lost cats just trying to find a bowl of milk this morning.
At least we're even now.
Yeah. Well, imagine combing through New Heights for Taylor Swift clues. I thought it was Adele, though. I reached out to some people because my family wanted to know. And I was like, so I texted a few people. I was like, hey, I'm not going to tell anybody, but who's the halftime show? And, because you announce it in 10 minutes. And can you just tell me so I can tell my family? And there were like 5 people that were like, yeah, I think it's Adele. And I was like, oh, okay. So I texted Adele, and then they announced Bad Bunny, and everyone in my family was like, oh, do you even know anything? And I was like, what? Come on,
That's always great. Like people who are laying in the weeds, waiting for you to be wrong about one thing. So see, he doesn't know everything.
And I don't, but I was like, I feel like I got you close. Like, okay, what were you going to do? Go ask the mailman? I mean, that's who else do you have that could get you this close to the situation?
I think somebody broke this Bad Bunny news on social media like earlier in the night before the announcement at halftime. And I saw it on social media and I thought it was a joke because I legitimately don't know who Bad Bunny is.
And he literally
it was a very bewildering Sunday night for me. And then the Cowboys score 40 points on the Packers defense.
Right. And tied it. Times. And let's roll into that, but I will just finish by saying this, Albert. I think Bad Bunny sold out a month straight of concerts in playing in the same venue. So I don't know. I'm excited.
By the way, we do have to address your hat because your team set a few things in motion this weekend that
oh my God. Okay. So before we get to Eagles and Cowboys, and that's where we're going to start our show. So I think it was last week we were joking about. I'm wearing a Notre Dame hat. I'm a Notre Dame fan. Albert's an Ohio State fan. I was, as I normally do, ragging on their pathetic schedule with no quality opponents while we went down and played Arkansas in the hog pen. I don't know what you would call where they play, whatever. But we
Pig
were
pen.
joking about the pig pen. Yeah. So we were joking about coaches being on the hot seat, and I had made a flippant remark about like if Notre Dame wins, Bobby Petrino will be coaching Arkansas on Monday. Well, God damn it, Albert. Bobby
Here we
Petrino is
are.
coaching Arkansas on Monday. That was
This is like this is so good. I love football so much. Like stuff like this doesn't happen in other sports where
it really doesn't.
a guy gets fired because he got into a motorcycle accident with his mistress, who I think was like an undergrad at Arkansas.
Yeah.
And then 13 years later, he's back as the head coach.
Oh, it's so good.
Like he should ride like a big ass Harley into the press conference.
You have to own it at that point, right? Now, is he still with that?
I think that's what it was. I'll make sure I have the facts right. It was a motorcycle accident, and the motorcycle accident basically revealed that he had a mistress, right? And she worked in the football office, which is why he got fired.
Right.
Right. I think that's what it was.
I think so.
There could not be a more SEC story than Bobby Petrino being back in charge at Arkansas.
I was just joking too. I was like, "Oh, remember that time the motorcycle accident or whatever? That was not funny. The motorcycle accident's never funny, but
because
what it revealed,
the neck brace picture has become so like ubiquitous. You know what I mean?
Yes. Imagine like just sitting in that office and being like, you're like, all right, who can we call?
Well, he was the offensive coordinator, which is why we brought it up in the first place. But
that's true.
I mean, still, the fact that they would bring him back, like to begin with, is like just pretty incredible. Now, I say that as a school who our coach got fired for tattoos for the tattoo situation, right?
Very serious offense. Yeah.
Right, very serious offense that would be taken just as seriously now. And he wound up becoming like the lieutenant governor of the state. And is now, and he has been a university president. Since then, he's been a university president. He's been the lieutenant governor, and he actually had to announce, I think in the last couple of weeks, that he won't be running for governor, which means a gubernatorial run was very, very seriously in play for Jim Tressel.
Man, why didn't he run for governor? He should have run for governor.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about his politics.
It was a surreal moment, like driving into Ohio. This is the first time I noticed it. Maybe it was up there before, but you go the welcome to sign when you're driving into the state. And so like during my camp trip this year, I'm driving into Ohio, and it's the first time I think I've ever seen a lieutenant governor on the welcome to the state sign. But it was like Governor, I think DeWine, right? And then on the other side, it's Lieutenant Governor Tressel.
I'm behind on my Ohio politics, but we'll see.
So there you have it.
Maybe
but yeah, this is but the Petrino story is next level. And what if he like runs the table?
I know
they have to hire him, right?
And get him a sidecar for his motorcycle. Because if you're going to be safe and you're going to carry some, you're going to give some gals a ride, you got to put them in the sidecar.
You have to put like ground rules in place about.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he's learned his lesson.
I mean, I would think those ground rules are already in place, and maybe you just have to reiterate them.
Yeah. I mean, don't date an undergrad employee and then crash.
If you're gonna date an undergrad, make sure she doesn't work in the football office.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's maybe that's where we start. But we're gonna start wrapping up this weekend with Green Bay and Dallas. And here's my theory, Albert, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Jerry Jones traded Micah Parsons to build a contender. That was his wish while Dak Prescott was still in his prime. Okay, Dak Prescott's 32. This is the best he's looked in years. The Cowboys almost beat the Eagles, who are undefeated in week 1. They staved off the Giants in a massive shootout the following week. They tied the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. To me, they look like one player away from being a contender with Dak Prescott in his prime. Imagine that. Do you know who that player Do you know who that player would be? I mean, am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, this was impressive. They did this without CeeDee Lamb too.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Pickens has his breakout game. Pickens looked great. Like,
well, Pickens had his breakout game because CeeDee Lamb.
Because CeeDee Lamb was hurt.
Pickens
right?
is a soloist, right?
Yeah,
he wants to be the only receiver on the field, and that was a good thing for him on Sunday.
Right. Like Javonte Williams, I think, has looked really good, and you got to be happy for him with all the injury stuff he went through in Denver. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, this surprised me. Like, I thought this was, after about 10 minutes, this one, I was like, oh, this is going to be 42-0. I'm going to be like, I can spend the second half writing. I don't have to worry about this one. You know what I mean? Like, and lo and behold, I thought that the Cowboys showed a lot of character. And I will say this, like, I think Brian Schottenheimer deserves credit for, I mean, there's almost like you can see that like he's got like a team that's relentless. And I know these are all cliches, but like the whole idea of they're dead because of this, or they're dead because of that, or this bad thing happened. The Malik Neighbors touchdown, which would completely deflate a lot of teams the way that one happened. And this group just rolls with the punches. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to give the staff a lot of credit for that. And that, like, that team has an ability and a resilience to it to keep coming. And, I think it goes without saying, Dak played great. They ran the ball well. I mean, it looked like a really well-rounded team that, maybe is one pass rusher away.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but so Jerry Jones was saying in the NBC pregame situation was an absolute embarrassment. I thought that was so pathetic. And for those of you who didn't see it, Jerry Jones did a hard-hitting interview with Jason Garrett before and basically narrated.
Well, he also got it wrong. Did you notice that? Maybe I'm the only one who noticed this.
Well, he told Jason Garrett that he opened the stadium.
Which he didn't. It was Wade Phillips.
He didn't. Yeah, it was. But
Garrett was the offensive coordinator, so he was there, but it was Wade Phillips.
I
would have loved to have seen Wade's reaction. Probably Wade would have had a good one-liner for that one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But he put himself in a position where he could control the narrative before the game and basically demonize the agent again, which is just, it's a continuation of this perpetual stupidity that's costing him more money and is going to continue costing him more money. And that money is going to continue to prevent him from keeping the books straight and being able to build a contender. If you go all the way back to when the Dak Prescott's deal was up the first time, or when CeeDee Lamb should have been paid. I mean, we've been over this ad nauseum, but it's so frustrating that no one, and it's not going to be Jason Garrett, is going to be like, hey, do you think if he paid these guys on time, he might have had enough in the kitty to pop for Micah Parsons, and then we wouldn't have to be here right now? But that's not a conversation.
The shame of it for me, though, is like that I actually think they've got a lot of good people in that organization, and I think it's a pretty well-run place. Like, I really do. And I say that without any sarcasm. Like, I think Will McClay is one of the top personnel people in all football. They've done a really good job of not just having frontline players and hitting on guys like Micah Parsons in the first round, but then they dig out like a Deron Bland. They dig out an Osa Odigizua. Like, they dig out guys later in the draft. They constantly have the next guy ready to replace the guy before. Like, even like in the case of Parsons, like Ezeraku looks like he's going to wind up being a pretty good player. You know what I mean? As a second round edge rusher. So like, there's a lot of things about that organization. When you strip down all of the bells and whistles, it's actually a pretty well-run place.
Right.
And like, when was the last time, seriously now, when was the last time we looked at the Cowboys and really thought talent was a huge issue?
Not a whole lot.
Parcells, probably, right?
Yeah.
Like, they've always had good players, and we're talking about like 20 years now that it's been that way, from back when Jeff Ireland was, in McClay's role, to Tom Siskowski, and then Will McClay. Like, their personnel department's been really well run. I just it's stuff like this that I think, I don't know. Again, I think Jerry's a fantastic businessman as an owner, but sometimes he just can't get out of his own way with this stuff. And
well, for about 30 years, he hasn't been able to get out of his own way.
right. So now
Third of someone's lifetime.
the thing is, like, now, to be fair to him, we can't really judge it because this wasn't a move for right now. Right.
Right.
So, I mean, they do have 2 first-round picks coming, and Kenny Clark is a good player. So, I mean, there's a chance that like they really use the 4 first-round picks over the next couple of years to extend their window out, or they do something else with the picks.
I suppose,
so it's hard to pass final judgment on it, but there's no question that, like, in the here and the now, if you thought the team was close in an NFC that's pretty wide open, like, it's a little harder to justify this one. I personally think, and this is just putting pieces together, I personally think their realization was maybe they weren't going to win a Super Bowl with the group as presently constituted, which pushed them to give in on the trade request.
I just wonder. I mean, Dak was unconscious last night. I mean, that pass to Jalen Tolbert in overtime was one of the 5 best throws and catches that I've seen of like the last calendar year of NFL football. Mm-hmm. And he just looks so much more mobile. He looks so much more comfortable. That offense works for him. And again, you're saying this, they did it against a good defense without CeeDee Lamb. And I just, I wonder what, let's go back 2 years. Like, let's say, even if you just signed Derrick Henry for pennies on the dollar because you wanted to go there, and then you re-signed Micah Parsons when you were supposed to, and that team is 3-1 right now. Are we not talking about them as a legit, very exciting potential Super Bowl contender?
I mean, sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely, yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I like, and that's the thing is, like, I think like they had looked at it like, you're kind of like, if you pay Micah, then and they tried to pay Micah. That's the part of it too. It's not like they didn't. It's not like they just made this decision consciously. Like, this was more of a, all right, well, if we're in this spot in the negotiation, we have to start looking at like the idea of what this would look like without him as part of the equation.
Yeah.
So it's not like they weren't saying, okay, like, we're unwilling to pay him. But if you do pay him with what he's making, with what Lamb's making, with what Dak's making, you're sort of locked in with that core, and you have less flexibility to balance out the roster. I don't know. I mean, I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure that I buy that is a Super Bowl winning team with Micah out there. Maybe, like, I don't know, maybe you disagree, but I'm still not sure that's a Super Bowl winning team with Micah out there.
Contending. I don't know. But let's get to the Packers side of it real quick. That was, I mean, anytime you put up 40 points, applause for you, but the defense fell apart. The special teams fell apart. And Matt LaFleur has dealt with this time and time again. And you thought importing Rich Bisaccia was finally the fix to high-profile special teams breakdowns. Now, we're in a little bit of a Wild West right now, where I would say all coaches are adjusting to what the new kickoff brings and how we're supposed to cover it and how we're supposed to attack it. But the Packers were sliced up on special teams. Their defense just bent constantly in this game, and it was a disappointing one. I mean, I think that they've gone from 2-0, oh my God, this team is impossible to stop, to that initial Micah wave has diminished to the point where he's a great player that's going to draw double teams and allow you to do other stuff, but they're not doing other stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I was disappointed right on down to the clock management in that overtime period.
The clock management, that part of it, like, was weird, and I didn't really, because they left a timeout on the table, right?
Correct.
So they had a timeout at the end. I don't understand, like,
Well, no, they didn't have a timeout at the end because that's why they had to kick the field goal with the second left. But they delayed the usage of it was strange in that period.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Right. Either way, like they should have had a better shot. They should have been more, like, at least in my mind. And maybe it was something that was, maybe it was something they had seen earlier in the game that was preventing them from being a little bit more aggressive and pushing the ball down the field. But in that situation, to not give yourself more shots at getting at the end zone there, I thought was at least a little bit strange, and even like leaving it to, and we've seen this like more and more now, being content with the 53-yard field goal. I mean, to me, that's still playing with fire. You know what I mean? That's
I
still a
agree.
long way, huh?
I agree. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that so many of these coaches are just content with
We
it's
saw
like,
from Schottenheimer a couple of weeks ago at the 64-yarder, which I was like, whoa, they're running the ball at the end. You know what I mean? Like, what are they doing? And it works out, but I don't know. I mean, like, I think that's part of the reason we've probably seen so many blocks the last couple of weeks. And I've talked to I actually texted with some special teams coaches about this yesterday, about like the reasoning for this. And I thought it was interesting too. Like, one of them mentioned to me like the amount of time allotted to the new kickoff now, like like takes away from time people are spending on field goal operation, and maybe that's leading to some of the breakdowns. And then some teams have seen some things in the field goal operation where they're getting a little bit more creative with the field goal block team, like they're putting real effort into trying to block field goals. Because from longer distances, maybe you have a better shot at them because they're lower trajectory kicks, So there's some
yeah.
interesting stuff there too.
Um, where does Green Bay go from here? I mean, that's what's interesting to me. Is like I just feel like, I mean, is this a 2-week flash in the pan? Because the Browns got waxed pretty good by the Lions on Sunday, and I think that we kind of are they're starting to settle in as kind of who we thought they were, and the Lions kind of who we thought they were. Was this a mirage, like a 2-week boost that you got from getting a great generational player and nobody having any tape on it, or is this a peak and valley for you?
Well, I mean, now they've got the weirdly early bye, right? So you come out of that and you have the Bengals with Jake Browning and you're at Arizona. So I think there's a chance to recover there. The schedule isn't that arduous. I do think a game like last night can be productive because, it was on your quarterback to win that game, and so, like, the fact that they had to throw the ball, was it 43 times? They had to come back at the end. Like, I think those are good experiences that you can bank. They spread the ball around. I thought Jordan Love was on balance pretty good last night.
Yeah.
So, I think seeing that's obviously a positive. I still think that there's a process for Jeff Hafley and the defensive coaches of, okay, like, how do we best integrate Micah Parsons? Because he's not a traditional edge rusher. Like, he's not DeMarcus Ware. You don't just line him up on the edge and like, all right, go. I think to get the most out of him, you had to move him around and do different things with him. And you have to be, I think you have to be judicious in how you use him too, because some of what he does can be out of structure. He's not always the most disciplined player. So you can, like, which is part of the problem Dallas had with him. And it's, I think, where Dan Quinn had a lot of success with him. Like, Dan Quinn actually, and this is actually interesting when I was digging around at the time of the trade, Dan Quinn actually played him off the ball more because he knew it would force him to play to his responsibilities. Whereas if he constantly had his hand in the dirt, like, he knew Micah would just sort of chase sacks, chase big plays, And so there was a way of like balancing that out. I know DQ felt this way, where it was like, let's give him a little more responsibility. And that way, at the very least, we won't be caught out of structure quite as much with him. And we can still leverage the big plays from him by rushing him from different spots, if that makes sense, Whereas, like, then they start to play him more exclusively as an edge rusher, and now it's just he's this golden retriever chasing the ball.
Um, the
And I
Cowboys,
know that I know people look at him. I know because I think it's an interesting conversation, right? Like I know people look at him and think like, oh well, I'd absolutely put him on the edge. That's where he can make the most big plays. Well, it also can be where he can get himself and his team in the most trouble.
yeah, I mean, I've said all along he's been more effective and I think better, like in the A and the B gaps.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just been a more interesting player and a tougher player to stop. And I'm not quite sure why he hasn't been more featured there. But the Packers have to get into this. I mean, this is going to be a season long and really, I mean, a half decade long experimentation. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's I don't know. I mean,
look, it's 4 games in, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I do think to some degree there's a process of figuring out exactly what to do with him. He is not like I just think I firmly believe this with players like him. Like, I don't think you get the most out. Like, again, like I understand, like statistically, like whatever analytics you want to put on it, the numbers are going to look better if you play him as an edge rusher, right? Like just exclusively as an edge rusher. But I don't think like that necessarily is getting the most out of a player like that. It's like, would you get the most out of Alvin Kamara if you just handed him the ball 20 times?
right.
No, right? You know what I mean? Like, you want to use him to threaten the defense even when he doesn't get the ball. You want the defense to have to account for him on every play. You want when the Saints break the huddle, what they're looking for is the defense to immediately be looking at where number 41 is going. You know what I mean? Like, and I sort of feel like Mike is the same thing. If you know where he's going on every play, if you know where he's going to line up on every play, it makes it easier to deal with him. If you're using him in all kinds of different ways, the production may not look quite the same, but what you're going to be able to do to an offensive football team is, I think, going to have a bigger impact on the game, which is, I think, is something that Dan Quinn recognized when he was coaching him a couple of years ago.
Green Bay coming up as the Bengals, which you kind of like for them. The Cardinals, which you kind of like for them. Steelers. I mean, I think they're just as good at or better than the Steelers. Panthers, which you love for them. You love for anybody.
Yeah, they have a chance to roll, I think.
I was going to say, and then the Eagles, which is November 10th, but then the Giants on the 16th. So, I mean,
you could be 6-2 and go with Philly coming into Lambeau,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, and then 6-3, 7. I mean, how many Packers fans would take 7-3? Right. If you beat the Bengals and the Steelers. All right.
You're saying he's gonna derail the Jaxson Dart freight train there, and
let's go there. I was gonna save it, but I'm too excited. I guess I've realized I'm sort of. I'm not a closeted Giants fan. I think I've just been around so long that. And you live in the market and you live in the area and the team is bad, has been bad. And so I think that you develop some sort of appreciation for someone or something that comes along and makes it not so bad. And he was phenomenal. And I think people are going to roll their eyes that don't live in this market or that don't live in this area and people who hadn't watched the game. Because if you look at the box score, like, if you had to ask me blind what Jaxson Dart's stats were, I would have come up with something wildly different than 13 of 20 for 111 yards and a touchdown. And it was like a very short, like inverted shovel pass touchdown, right? And then 10 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown. I thought he carried the ball 300 times. It felt like that. He was constantly on the move against the Chargers. There was a fearlessness to his game that I thought translated really well. And the one thing that you noticed is that it was a rising tide that lifted all boats. I mean, you got good plays out of Devin Singletary and Theo Johnson and maybe Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't have quite the game because Russell Wilson really liked Wan'Dale Robinson, but Cam Scatterbo's running looked better. It looked, and then you put Russ back in for one play, which they had to, which I thought was hilarious. Then he gets swallowed up like he's standing in front of an ocean wave, And so I think that there is a difference, and it's that Jaxson Dart is young. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. and he's all gas, no brakes. And someone needed to come in here and play like that and just yank this team out of this sleepwalking phase that they were in.
Yeah, there's definitely an energy to him. What I liked about the way Dayball coached him on Sunday and deployed him on Sunday was you did have the two touchdowns to me were sort of plays that you use to get him playing fast and playing confident, right? The touchdown to Theo Johnson, that's a little shovel pass where you using him in movement, right? And so like that's something that helps the offense get going. The other touchdown was on a quarterback draw. And then you turn around and down the stretch, you're really putting trust and faith in him. And to me, even if that doesn't work out, like that's going to naturally give the kid confidence. So that's going for it on fourth down. He puts that ball on Wan'Dale Robinson. Well, I had him on the phone after the game, and he said the Chargers made a nice play on that ball. It looked to me like Wan'Dale just sort of dropped it.
Yeah.
But either way, like, you know, you trust him on fourth down there, and then you come back at the end of the game. And to me, like you're in 3rd and 5, and you know, I think a lot of people with a rookie quarterback would hand the ball off there, you know, bleed the clock down to the 2-minute warning, and then if you have to, punt it away if you don't pick up the first down. But they trusted Jaxson to throw it out of that situation, and he hits Theo Johnson for the first down and finishes the game. And I think that's a way of not just showing your quarterback you got confidence in him, but projecting that confidence to the rest of the team. And now, you know, he has that pelt in his wall. You know what I mean? That he finished the game with that throw. So I really like the way that Dayball approached that game. I do think that like having a young quarterback with the sort of energy that Dart has can spark a team. And I mean, look, they have the Saints next week, I believe. Like this, I'm not saying they're going to win the division or anything like that, but you know, you go into the Superdome and win next week, and now all of a sudden, you know, you've got the Thursday night game against the Eagles on October the 9th, and you're 2-3, and we'll see what happens.
You're 2-3, but maybe you just don't get run out of the building. You know what I mean? And you have a chance. Like 6 or 7 wins looks a little bit more reasonable than it did a couple of weeks ago, right? And I don't know if that's enough. I mean, I'm not into this like droning on conversation about like, is it going to save Brian Daboll's job? I don't know. I don't care. You know, I don't think we should care, right? It's like, it's one of those things that the Giants will figure out when they get to that point. But
right. I mean, I think it's really, I mean, to me, you put the rookie quarterback in there, it's not that it's not about wins and losses. It is about wins and losses. But I do think to some degree, if you're Daboll now, this is really about like showing that like you're doing enough to help the young quarterback that ownership's not going to want to upset the balance of that going into 2026. Because obviously Dart's now the guy going forward, and he's going to be your starter next year. So the question now goes from where's the program at coming out of 2025, which is part of the equation still, to what's best for our young quarterback in 2026. And if he continues to develop and plays well, like, you know, I mean, you still remember that line from John Mara, right? Like it was something along the lines of, we really screwed Daniel Jones, you know, we really didn't help him out. Well, you know, that's something that's going to come up again if Dart plays really well down the stretch. And so I like where they're at coming out of this game. The defense was great. You know what I mean? Now they had some help. Joe Alt got hurt.
Right.
And that does raise some concerns for the Chargers.
Yeah, they're threadbare at this point. Yeah. They're down to like the D team on offensive line at this point. Yeah.
Right. And that was like, and the problem with that is that so much of their identity was being formed behind that offensive line over the last couple of months. And that was going to be, I mean, I think it was shaping up to be like one of the best offensive lines in football, right there with Philly, you know, and just such a huge part of the identity of their team. And so now, at least in the short term, they're going to have to figure that out. It's a high ankle sprain for Joe Alt, so we'll see how long he's out. But being without Alt and Slater is obviously a huge, huge blow.
Boy, Omarion Hampton didn't seem to care, though. He was beastly in this one. It looked really good. And, you know, I think the Chargers will be there if they can get Alt back. I still think this is an excellent team. I didn't see a ton of holes. I mean, Herbert was chased by this pass rush that was taking advantage of a really good situation for them, and it functioned as it was supposed to function. I think Abdul Carter had 5 quarterback hits in that game,
Yep.
but that's how it's supposed to look. But the Giants are also the same team that couldn't do this against Dak Prescott 2 weeks ago in a shootout that would have bolstered this team to, I mean, gosh, they could have a winning record. I guess you could say that about the Giants every year, but there's just something that always happens. Right. But I don't know. For 1 week, darty party, and I think it's different because I consider myself a bit of an expert here. Okay. I've sat through the Mark Sanchez debut, the Geno Smith debut, the Zach Wilson debut, the Daniel Jones debut. I've seen, I think, basically every time they've won one of their first games in the Daily News, the back cover was A Star is Born. There's a Star is Born Geno Smith. There's a Star is Born Mark Sanchez. There's a Star is Born Zach Wilson. This felt different to me because there's nothing around Jaxson Dart right now. Andrew Thomas.
It's a long way from from my formative days covering the league at the very beginning when I was covering the league when Eli Manning and Chad Pennington were the 2 quarterbacks in New York.
Oh, showing your age again, Albert.
Yeah.
But it felt different to me because those like Zach Wilson, you would see in a game and you'd always be like, oh, there was never an, oh, at some point it's going to get better. Or Geno Smith, there was always that like, I don't know. And Mark Sanchez constantly, right? It was, I'm getting to this level and then it's 2 steps back. I'm getting to this level and then it's 2 steps back. With Jaxson, I don't know if it's going to be better or worse, but it just felt different to me. I don't know. Because I've seen all of that before. And whether it was the fact that Neighbors went down and he didn't phase him, the fact that Neighbors wasn't really a part of his game plan to begin with, and I'm sure he was part of the game plan, but what
right.
Like he was getting to other guys and looking in other places. I don't know. I feel like the Giants might have hit on this guy.
He has like, I don't want to oversimplify it, but he has like a certain like, I guess swag's the word, right?
Yeah.
And
that matters.
Some of those other guys didn't that like kind of gives you the sense that being in New York isn't going to phase them,
I don't think so. I think let's see real quick. Let's see what the New York Post did today. I wonder if they were,
you want to get the Post? I'll get the Daily News.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I wonder if they did the. I wonder if they did the Mets collapsing though, because the Mets lost 162.
Oh, here you go.
Oh, yeah, they did.
No, that was New Jack City.
Amazing disgrace for the New York Post back page, and then the front page is The Dark Knight Rises. Jaxson Dart. Jaxson the hero the Giants need. What did the Daily News did? What did they do?
Well, no, the Post. Post was yesterday. This is yesterday's Post. Was New Jack City. Pretty good.
Dead October. Daily News. Mets fall flat on final day to miss out on the postseason. And then the ecstasy and the agony was the football headline, which I don't love. Dart revives Giants. Neighbors likely lost to an ACL tear. New York is so negative. All right, let's spin through the rest of this. There's a couple more I want to really kind of get to and dig in on. And just very quickly, okay. Titans and Texans. A game took place there. It was 26-0. The Texans blew out the Titans. There's a couple thoughts from this game, but I'm going to underline it with this because I think this is what a majority of the people listening to this podcast care about. Does Brian Callahan make it to Halloween at this point?
So I think that's a fair question. And I think it's about more than losing. It's about the way the team looked. I think really that's going to come down to the pulse in the locker room. And I think it's like, has that become a bad environment for your young players, most especially Cam Ward, right? I almost said Cam Dart. Cam Ward. I think listening to Ward talk yesterday was interesting, and I'm sure you heard it, the "We Asked" thing, which I think is going to wind up on a T-shirt now. Um, I I just like look at this organization, and it's hard to point anywhere else but right at Amy Adams Strunk for
Sure.
the amount of just completely reactionary decisions over and over and over again. They fired John Robinson on the way back. I think it was from a Thursday night game, right? At Lambeau in November of, what was it, 22. So they fire John Robinson. January of 23, they hire Rand Carthon as their general manager after she had met Rand at the accelerator, right? Like it was basically based on that interaction. So now Rand's the general manager and Mike Vrabel's the head coach. They give Vrabel all the power. Then after a year of that, she decides she doesn't like the atmosphere in the building and she feels like it needs to be reset. So she fires Vrabel, who had been a very successful head coach there, after firing the general manager. It's probably about 14 months apart, who had been a very successful general manager there. And she brings in Brian Callahan. She demotes Rand Carthon at that point, right? Or a year later, she demotes Rand Carthon, elevates Chad Brinker. Or no, now I got to get this in my head. She doesn't demote him, but she elevates Chad Brinker at that point to president of football operations. Then a year later, she fires Rand Carthon and brings in Mike Borgonzi. So I can't even keep all of this straight.
Yeah.
But it's this rearranging of deck chairs. And this was going into this year, it's like, okay, we finally have everything aligned. We have our young offensive minded head coach. We have our general manager who we're able to pry from Kansas City. We have our president of football ops who's going to oversee the whole thing and make sure everything's aligned and turn us into a more forward thinking organization. And all of this stuff is all set up. And now you're going to fire the coach a month in.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Is it best for Cam Ward at this point? Because
that's the question you got to ask. But at what point does this end? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just feel like
I just don't know. And again, like I'm not saying Brian Callahan is necessarily the right guy for the job, but he's a young head coach and he is 21 games in now?
With the worst winning percentage of any coach who's ever coached 20 games or whatever it was, 20, but
you know, right?
Yeah. So and again, I'm not one of those, and I used to be, and I'm not now, where it's like fire this. I left New York for a while. I came back and I've realized that there are other ways to do things and you can be patient and you can allow people time to do it. What I think that Callahan is suffering from at this point is sort of the failure to sell this, right? I mean, there's battles at the podium, but not just battles. It's just like, I don't know how I would describe it, Albert, but it's almost like this indifference or like that it doesn't matter enough for him to go through with the exercise. And Nashville is enviable on a lot of coaches' lists because you can kind of disappear there as a head coach and not have to deal with a lot of stuff. But he is bringing to the forefront these things that would have gone completely and totally unnoticed before.
Right. And here's the thing, though. Here's the other part of it. All right. So if you're really worried about the development of your young quarterback, who on that staff can you make the interim coach?
I know exactly who you could make the interim
His
coach.
Dad?
No. Someone did text me that. But no, it's obvious. Who is it?
Mike McCarthy?
No. Huh? Who is it? The consummate interim head coach. The number one guy on that team. Bones Fossil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forgot he was there. Yeah. I guess Bones Fossil would be the guy.
Anyway, I don't know. I think that's
I don't know. I just think like I'm like I understand where you're at with this. I understand where a lot of people are at with this, and that was an embarrassing game. And if you find that the team has quit on the coach, by all means do it. You know what I mean? Because I think it's really hard for any coach to come back from that. If you go in the locker room and the locker room has given up on him, then like you almost have to do it, because no matter how hard it is to make it through with an interim coach and a rookie quarterback and all of that, like there's nothing worse than having a team that's quit on its head coach walking the green mile. That's a bad environment for a young quarterback to be in. And you're right, Bones Fossil probably could bring a new energy to the building, at least for the interim, like for the rest of the year. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how all this. I just don't know. Like looking at the next 3 months, how you're going to make this better for your young quarterback. You're going to make this better for all the young players that you drafted. With that sort of, and why is it just to get your pound of flesh? Again, if it's toxic in that building, which I'm going to dig around a little bit on that. If it's toxic in that building, I get it. But I just I think it's really early to be doing that in the year, and I think you are playing with fire.
We'll see. Something to keep an eye on as we roll on. Next on my little list of games I want to get to here. Ravens and Chiefs, which is insane to think that this is that far down on the pecking order. It just was not a good game. And I feel like that is taking away some of the credit that Kansas City deserves, because all they heard over the last few weeks was, well, when is the offense going to get better? When is the offense going to get better? Well, Patrick Mahomes threw for almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy had 83 yards and is back and helped transform that offense. But the real victory here, I felt like, was how good that they were able to perform in the quick game. I thought that Patrick Mahomes now is like averaging 2.5 seconds a throw. That's Brady-esque. And he's getting himself back out of harm's way. I have to double check this here. 4 rushes, but 4 rushes for 5 yards, right? So the little kind of scrambles that aren't the ones that make Andy Reid hold his breath, you know?
You mean they've spent the first month of the season figuring out who they are, and now they've got it, and now they're going to be just fine, and they're going to win 12 or 13 games and be back in the AFC title game again, and all this panic was completely unwarranted.
Hey, we're here, baby.
Again, I will bring this stat up again. The Patriots went to 8 straight AFC championship games from 2011 to 2018. In 4 of those 8 years, they started 2-2. What are the Chiefs right now?
2-2.
So, like, we've seen this movie before. They are the Patriots. They spend the early parts of the year figuring out who they are. The NFL is different than it was 20 years ago. As much of a big deal as we make of everything over the first month of the season, and we have to react to this stuff because we have nothing else to react to. The first month of the season for the top teams, for the perennial contenders, is less relevant than anyone makes it out to be, because they're figuring out who they are, because they're spending the first month churning through the roster, because they're managing injuries, because they're playing rookies. And so I look at the Chiefs, and this is why I have not backed down off of this. They're going to be there at the end. They have a rookie left tackle. They lost Xavier Worthy in the opener. They haven't had Rashee Rice yet. They feel like Rashee Rice is probably the best skill player on their entire roster. And the defense has been just fine.
Yeah. And really, and Spags kind of has Lamar's number, but they did some real damage. And then Lamar ended up leaving with a hamstring injury. John Harbaugh wouldn't say if it was serious enough to keep him out if the game was actually close. But the Chiefs, I mean, I know it, and you know it, and most people know it, but every year we're going to go through this exercise in perpetuity until Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are no longer together, right? We're just going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's, again, doubting Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in 2025 is doubting Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in 2015 or 2005. They may not be the Super Bowl champions this year, but they will be there at the end, right? When there are 4 teams left, more often than not, they will be one of those 4 teams.
Yeah.
Until further notice. And an off year for them is getting eliminated in the divisional round, which hasn't happened yet, by the way. Right? Like, that has not happened yet. Patrick Mahomes has been the starter for 7 years, 7 AFC championship games.
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And it's in an era when Josh Allen is in Buffalo, Joe Burrow is in Cincinnati.
Sometimes, yeah.
Lamar Jackson is in Baltimore. At the beginning of this era, Tom Brady was in New England, and he's still making it through every year.
So if you go on the flip side of this, I am starting to worry if, depending on what's your favorite defensive stat, Albert? What's your go-to? What do you look up when you're looking up? Like what
like go-to defensive stat, like a team stat?
Yeah. To be like, okay, is this defense good or is it bad? I mean, we watch every game and we can see it, but there are numbers.
The one I've heard that's like actually a great predictor for wins and losses is actually one that is decidedly not advanced. It's opponent's passer rating.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So I've heard, I'm not a huge stat guy, full disclosure, but I've heard that one, that's one I know teams actually will tell you, like, that can be a pretty reliable predictor, is opponent's passer rating.
Interesting. Okay.
Of how good your defense is.
So,
because it takes a lot of things into account, right? Your passer rating is going to be, it's one of those things where if you think about it, it seems simple, but it's also like your passer rating is going to be worse if you're in more long yardage situations. If you're able to make big plays on the quarterback, it's going to put him in worse situations. If you're playing from behind, it's going to be harder for your quarterback to have good numbers. Like, it takes a lot of things into account that you don't really think about.
Yeah. Now, Baltimore is 26th in opponent passer rating. They are, if you're an EPA guy, and this is really funny, like a random aside, there are some coaches in the NFL who live and die by EPA. And there are some coaches who I've been around who, and I'm not saying this to make fun of them, who have literally asked me, hey, can you tell me what that means or stands for? Because I don't know. And it's just not a part of what they do. But expected points added. So in the defense, you flip it, right?
Yeah.
And negative is better per play. The Baltimore Ravens are 29th. Only the Titans, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys are worse than Baltimore's defense. And the injuries are piling up, right? I mean, there was more than that happened on Sunday. I mean,
I'm pretty surprised by this.
Even with all the injuries.
This is way up there. As far as stuff that I didn't expect, the Ravens looking this way defensively, where now, I mean, look at it, like, they gave up 41 points to Buffalo, collapsed at the end. The Lions ran all over them, scored 38 points on them. And then they lose in a different way to the Chiefs and give up 37 points with the one solid performance there coming against the Browns. Their game with Houston this weekend is going to be really interesting.
Look at this injury list, though, now. Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Matabuke, Broderick Washington, Patrick Ricard, Travis Jones, Kyle Van Noy. That's a lot.
Yep. It's a lot. And I still think they're a really talented team. But I thought, like, coming into the year, you're looking at them, it's like, man, they don't really have any holes. And you really felt like Zach Orr was going to have that second year that Mike McDonald had. Where Mike McDonald, his first year, was kind of up and down as the defensive coordinator, and then he got his rhythm, they caught fire late. And then McDonald's second year, they were fantastic, and then he's off to Seattle to become the head coach. I sort of thought like Zach Orr was going to be similar, where like they had some bumps early in 24, came on late, played well late, and then you thought like, okay, like they're going to carry that in to 2025, and it just hasn't happened.
We'll see. I mean, this is they are. I'm of the opinion that the Ravens still have time to get healthy, right? Like, I don't think Jake Browning's running away with this division. As good as Aaron Rodgers looked, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is running away with this division necessarily. I mean, you needed a huge play from DK Metcalf to beat Carson Wentz and the Vikings in Ireland, and because they came all the way back in that game too. So let's bounce over there. So we got a couple big games left, and then we'll put a bookend on week 4. Vikings Steelers, I'll just say this. Carson Wentz is, again, I mean, I think it puts to bed for me, and this is tough to say about a quarterback who threw for 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, but was sacked 6 times, right? And I think it puts to bed the fallacy for me that just because Sean McVay did it with Baker Mayfield overnight, it doesn't mean that when you import quarterback into great quarterback ecosystem, that you immediately, like, it's just like Sam Darnold all over again on a conveyor belt, right? These things are complicated, and every quarterback is different, and every quarterback needs different things. And so I think it was probably, I would buy into that coaching bump and whatever that is, a fallacy, whatever you want to say. I probably buy into a little bit too much from time to time, and we're seeing the settling of it. And again, Carson Wentz's stats are great, but this was an offense that was, lost in the woods for a little while.
That to me is like one of those, though, if you watch the game, though, you know what I mean? Like, there were a couple big plays that really propped him up. And I still think if you watch him, there's just too much he's one of these quarterbacks where you can see the wheels turning in his head watching him play. You know what I mean? The ball's not coming out. And with that array of weapons that he has, and when you watch other guys play, like you watched Sam Darnold play in that offense last year, and you could see how fast he was playing. It was like Kevin O'Connell got him to a point where it's like, we're going to make it simple on you. We're going to get you rolling, and the ball's going to be out, and we're going to put you in a position where we're going to leverage your ability and then let the skill talent around you do the rest. And it's a really bad sign that Carson Wentz is still holding the ball and like it looks like slowly processing in this particular offense, right?
Yeah. I mean,
there were points where it looked okay, but there were just too many points where the ball's in peril way too much with him. I hate to put it that way. You know what I mean? Huh?
The ball is in peril. It's a great way to put it, though, right?
Yeah. The ball is in peril. I mean, I feel like constantly, like it's like a fumble or a pick waiting to happen. I feel like nonstop. And it's just, I don't know what happened to him between like, I don't know, year 3 and where he's at now. I think it's going to be one of those things where, we're going to go back and look at it and say like, man, like, isn't it unbelievable that he was, borderline MVP of the league when he got hurt, during that Super Bowl year of 2017. And because he's not like, we've looked at a lot of these like reclamation projects, like your Baker Mayfields, your Geno Smiths, your Sam Darnolds, all those guys, right? Alex Smith back in the day, Daniel Jones now. Wentz is kind of past that point because he's in his 30s now. He's had multiple different chances, but did they make a mistake letting go of Sam Howell?
Possibly. Is that your own hubris a little bit? Where do you? And I'm not
where
saying
you got cute,
where you got confident. Yeah, you got cute.
You got cute, like, hey, we can get an asset for Sam Howell, and we got Carson Wentz in the bullpen, so let's just do that.
Man,
because to me, like that's what this is. It's like if you lose your starting quarterback for a few weeks, like you want somebody who can stand in and just keep their hands at 10-2. He took 6 sacks.
Yeah.
Like that negates so much of the good because you're putting yourself in these situations where it's just, I don't know. You waste a great game from from Jefferson and Addison coming back from the suspension. That Sunday morning game next week's gonna be really interesting
And
because
just to see how
the
this
Browns may
team
not
is
be
faring.
great, but that defense is a mother bleeper, and so I Mitch, I'll get my picks in on time. I don't know. I might. Would you take Cleveland in that one? Would you be tempted to press that button?
I don't know, man. It's the Carson Wentz revenge game. Remember when Paul DePodesta said like 20 years ago that he wasn't good enough to be drafted at the top of the draft? Do you remember that?
Who had the last laugh?
Well, we'll see. I mean, none of the. I mean, I don't know.
It'll be
if I'm
settled
Carson.
on Sunday in London.
You tell. Well, okay. This is an interesting conversation for another time. But who did have the last laugh? Carson Wentz became a fringe MVP candidate, and
no, he wasn't
a
fringe MVP. He was an MVP,
legit MVP candidate. Got the team to the doorstep of a Super Bowl. Paul DePodesta effed up the quarterback position so many times that he had to trade for Deshaun Watson. So
right.
I don't know. I mean,
I guess for me, it's the negative plays. He has a fumble. He has 2 picks. He has 6 interceptions, and it's just like I don't know. I go back to like Sean Payton saying to me over the summer, like sacks are a quarterback stat. I think Carson Wentz is the poster boy for that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the sacks that he takes are on him because he just lacks the internal clock. And I don't know what it is, but he just does not have that internal clock that a lot of these guys have, having that spatial awareness, knowing when the rush is going to get to them, knowing when to get rid of the ball. He just takes so many big hits because he's just sitting there and the wheels are turning.
On the Steelers front, I'll just say this. Aaron Rodgers is slowly becoming my favorite person. The fact that he complained about not having enough time to be in Ireland and then complained about a headline being written about him complaining, which was entirely accurate. And then the team ran a tush push on Sunday where he literally just stood 6 yards behind the play and didn't move at all and wasn't involved in the play in any meaningful way. He's in his era right now, and I love every minute of it.
You'll see, Conor. That's life in your 40s. The world's against you.
I thought you were going to say it's life in your 40s that you just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
and that's pretty awesome. I mean, that I'm looking forward to.
That's you train yourself to not give a shit anymore for sure.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking for.
That's what I've done. I've learned to block out all the BS, all the, it's amazing how liberating it can be to not give a crap. Like you start to realize like there's a lot of stuff that people around you are worried about that really doesn't mean a goddamn thing. And it's liberating. It's almost like you become that guy in Office Space where it's like, I don't need to worry about that anymore. Like these guys can go and have like 15 conference calls on that. I'm just going to, maybe I'll call in, but I'm going to kind of like be fiddling around on my phone while that call is going on.
I cannot wait. Let me just do one-liners for a couple, and then we'll close it out. Commanders and Falcons, big Penix rebound game here. 2 touchdowns, 313 yards, but it's a tight one, right? The Falcons get away with a 7-point win over the Marcus Mariota-led Commanders. Jaden Daniels is coming back next week. So
I actually had a great conversation. This is to follow up on our conversation last week about Zach Robinson coming down from the booth. I had a great conversation with Bijan Robinson about this, and I think this is like a really interesting thing that can color these conversations going forward. All of this was a result of meetings on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday with the players where they watched the tape. They were very honest with each other, and Zach Robinson said to Bijan Robinson at halftime of the game, I should have done this from the start. And
wow.
It was about like him. And I thought this is a really, and I didn't even think about this part of it, but I thought this was a really interesting point. A huge piece of it was about him being accessible to the players and being able to get a better understanding of what the players were seeing on the field and then being able to see it better himself. He was a quarterback. So getting to see it from field level and field the game was a part of it. But Bijan, I thought, was he was really interesting because, like obviously he's this really cool, interesting weapon that they move around a lot. And he said that Zach was giving him coaching points on playing from the receiver spot and how to set guys up on his routes in game. And Bijan said to me, he's like, that he wouldn't have been able to do that from the booth, So there's little details that we were able to kind of get on in this game that we weren't able to get on before. So I thought that was huge. The other thing I think like that was really cool was like the trust that they had in Penix at the end of the game, despite all the things that have gone wrong in the last couple of weeks, to throw on those third downs to close it out. I think you saw little things there that were good. So I don't know, man. Like I think the Falcons are. I really can't let go of the things that people there were saying to me about Penix going into the year, about the way that he sees the field, about his ability to process, about some of the things he showed at the end of last year, where I think they're going to be all right. I really do. Like I think they're going to be a problem for Tampa. Like I think Tampa's a true Super Bowl contender. Like I think Atlanta in the end is going to be there with Tampa. They're another one of these teams that has a weird early bye. They're on their bye now, and they're come out of it and play Buffalo and San Francisco. So, like we'll find out pretty quick coming out of the bye where they're at. But I don't know, man. Like I think that there's some real good that came out of the last 2 weeks and the way that went with a shocking loss to a Panthers team that just got its kicked in New England.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm not going to say that they're better than the Bucs, Albert, because I think that the Bucs
I'm not saying they're better
team,
than the Bucs,
or that can give the Bucs a challenge,
because we know the wrath of the Bucs in these situations.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the NFL, hands down.
Yeah.
No notes.
But I think there's a little something there.
Bills 31, Saints 19. Not a lot here to say except for the fact that this is a great Khalil Shakir game. James Cook is awesome, and this was a little bit tighter than I think that we would have expected.
But isn't this one of those like survive and advance games for a good team?
It's one of let's just flick them off. Yeah, flick the bug off the back of the jacket. Same thing here.
Like this is like it shouldn't have been that close. End of the game. Josh go be Superman and move on. And the Bills' next game is really to me is interesting. Got New England going up there on Sunday night.
Yeah, and we can kind of see after the Patriots dispensed of the Panthers on Sunday how much of that is real, right? Because the Patriots won 42-13. They were down 6-0 in this game, but then a punt return touchdown and then a historic actually day on the punt return front. I think the Patriots return man. Hold on. I had it before. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Marcus Jones set a franchise record for punt return yards. Almost broke a second one, but just got dragged down by the punter at the last second. So
I thought what was cool about the first punt return, I don't know how often you see this, but I think it's a weird one of those. It's like a weird, good little sign, I think, for a team. And you can call me like a corny, hardo football guy for this or whatever. But the convoy he had in front of him on that punt return, there were like 5 guys running with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it was like there was no one left to block. You know what I mean? Like, now that doesn't reflect that great on the Panthers, but just seeing the way that punt return unit was moving and seeing those guys, that convoy downfield with them. Again, like I just think like with Vrabel, the one thing you've already seen with them is a certain play style that you saw in Tennessee, which is like there's a violent, like hard charging play style that the Titans already had. They always had. That I think you're seeing the Patriots start to have, and the quarterback is quietly playing really well. Like he may be of the second year quarterbacks. Is he the best? Is he off to the best start?
Probably. Right?
I say, I think he is. Now it's 4 games, so is what it is. But I think he's playing really, really well right now.
Still have the Bo Nix revival coming. So
Yeah, we got to wait for tonight. They're playing the Bengals tonight.
Yeah, one of 900 games on Monday Night Football. I'm actually excited about this Monday Night doubleheader. We'll get to that in a second. But all right. So
Because it's because of the rivalry jerseys, right? You gotta let me
manhole cover.
No, it's not the manhole cover because the Jets aren't wearing them tonight.
Oh, the Jets aren't wearing the manhole cover. Shit. All right. Well, a little disappointed.
Well, but hold on though, because so I'm seeing on the Dolphins TikTok. There's the headline, "In dark waters, we fight together," because they're black uniforms, right? So
fight together.
So the Jets tonight will be taken into dark water by the Dolphins, according to Nike. I'm trying. Oh, here we go. The jerseys explained. This is So here we go. The colors were chosen. The colors chosen are, quote, dark aquatic tones made to represent a team who hunts in dark waters.
Nice.
I need more of this. Hold on. What I want to see is I want to see how this really reflects the hardworking South Florida region. Much like Southern California, never looking for attention.
All right. Let's put to bed a couple more of these games, and then I want to talk Saleh and Liam Cohen fighting each other. The Lions they waxed the Browns 34-10. It was a closer game than I think the score indicated. Joe Flacco had 2 picks in this game that weren't his fault, and we did see Dylan Gabriel for a little bit in this one. Aiden Hutchinson was a monster in this game. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a monster in this game. The Lions are really good. They did not allow anybody to hit Jared Goff after the Browns defense looked vicious and had fangs for the first 3 weeks of the season. So I think that's something to take away from that one. We just said Patriots beat the Panthers 42-13. We talked about the Texans just demolishing the Titans 26-0. We have a couple games left here.
Do you have a Texans takeaway on that? Like I don't know if it really shows. It's hard, right? Because the Titans have been so bad.
No, it's like when my daughter's doing addition and subtraction in the teens now, and so it's like 18 minus 12. So we're stepping up. But then sometimes someone will ask her, like, she'll get a worksheet to be like, count the cows, and it's like, wait, what? Why? We know how to do that already. So I think this was a count the cows worksheet week for the Texans. The Eagles and the Bucks. My takeaway from this game, because I just want to save most of my remaining time for the fact that we had a coach fight. I love coach fights. I think they're so fun. My takeaway here is now we've seen 2 more Kevin Patullo. I don't know what you would call them, variations of the tush push. And that's so exciting to me, Albert, because you have the quick pass to Dallas Goedert, which could have been a quarterback sneak. You lined it up as a quarterback sneak. And then you have the other one where you toss it to Saquon Barkley outside of the tush push. Now we're cooking with gasoline because teams are going to stop loading the box as much. They would have to, right? They have to account for the possibility that you're going to toss it to Saquon Barkley, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like
makes it easier to run the tush push.
Well, and that's football. You know what I mean? Like you have a concept that seems unstoppable, and then you build things off of that concept to make it even harder to defend because you're forcing the other team to defend to deal with things off of that. And like, to me, what's interesting is this is going to make it even more unstoppable because if you have to pay attention to that now, what's it going to do? It's going to spread out your defensive front. So I got bad news. That means there's more of this coming,
right?
For people who don't like it. So for sure, that's there. And I thought the Eagles. You know what was impressive about what the Eagles did yesterday is like who was making the plays. And, again, they're becoming one of these teams that just sort of figures it out in the end, like we talked about with the Chiefs. But some of the guys have been like Jihad Campbell with the pick, right?
Yeah.
Reed Blankenship is the one who deflects the ball to create that pick. Moro Ojomo, who's playing a bigger role now with Milton Williams gone in the middle of the defense, has the big sack at the end. So I think the Bucs are going to be there. I think the Bucs and Eagles could wind up playing each other again in January. I just thought like how it's just different guys every week coming up and making these plays now, and how you have some of the guys that are replacing other important pieces of the puzzle. Like Jihad Campbell is playing off-ball linebacker where Nakobe Dean was. Reed Blankenship's playing safety, lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Moro Ojomo, again, is in there for Milton Williams. It's just sort of shows that the machine keeps churning, and we're seeing that. I think we saw that at the end of the game against the Bucs for sure. Sorry if I seemed a little distracted there, but I was trying to find some more regional flavor on the rivalry uniforms, which I shouldn't be so obsessed with this, but this has become one of my favorite things about the 2025 season for sure.
It's truly wonderful. The Rams beat the Colts 27-20. I walked out of this thrilled for the Colts, and I know that this is a weird take to have on this, but Daniel Jones didn't turn back into a pumpkin for me. I know he had a bad pick at the end of that game, but he was pressured for almost the entirety of that game. I think it was like a 50% pressure rate from the Rams, which is what they do. And he was in it, man. I mean,
he stood in there.
Yeah, and if you didn't have 10 guys on the field for the Tutu Atwell touchdown,
or AD Mitchell on the roster.
AD Mitchell, and I hate. You know what though?
That was the full AD Mitchell experience, though, right?
Yeah,
you see the talent, and then he has the hold, which probably wasn't necessary on the Jonathan Taylor touchdown. You have the obvious, premature celebration, which is just, what are you doing, dude? I don't know. Those are two like serious game-changing things,
I hate I hate what happens though, and I've been a beat writer, and there's this weird thing, and I think it's just bothering me more over time, is this idea that when you make a mistake, you have to come out and be faced with like 90 reporters, including like Sam Watson from Channel 6, and he's got to hold a microphone in your face and be like, tell us how sorry you are that you dropped that ball. He's sorry. He feels like an asshole. And I'm not saying that I just feel like there has to be a better situation to interview these guys in, like a better forum after the game. I don't know. Like when quarterbacks throw picks and make mistakes and they're like, they have to nail themselves to a cross. It's like, it's a football game, man. Are we really going to remember Colts Rams in 30 years?
For sure. I mean, it's one of those things where the coach doesn't even have to say anything to him. You know what I mean? Like, he knows.
It's like, hey,
the problem is when it like sort of lines up with what a guy's reputation was, which in this case, like for AD Mitchell, the reputation has always been he's ultra talented, but can you rely on him? And then, those were two, again, like one of them, both of them took touchdowns off the board, right?
Yeah.
So is what it is. I do think like at some point he's going to have to grow out of that. Hopefully the light comes on for him because he's got a ton of talent.
The Colts had 10 guys on the field, like I said, for that Tutu Atwell touchdown, and one of them also fell. So you see what happens in the NFL when you have 11 guys running a play, 11 guys and Sean McVay running a play against any.
We deal with that in fifth grade football.
Oh, I'm sure.
I remember when we got gashed like 2 or 3 plays. Like our defense was airtight the rest of the game. We got gashed like 2 or 3 plays in a row. So we went back and looked at the tape, and sure enough, there were 10 guys on the field because one of the kids came off and didn't tell anybody he was coming off.
Oh, that's great.
So so I've been there. I've actually now been there. I've now been there at a much different level.
The Bears, well, hold on, quick story, because I was a punt coverage guy. That was like my contribution I was a backup, right? So I didn't get on the field a lot except for punt coverage. And towards the end of the year, all of a sudden, when it was the final game to win the league and then to get into the state playoffs, our coach just started leaving the defense out. and would just drop one of the safeties back to take the punts. So he would just leave the starters in. And there was a couple times where I accidentally just wandered onto the field because I thought this was my time to shine. I'm on punt coverage, baby. But lo and behold, this is how mistakes happen when everybody's just trying to get the glory and jump in there for that punt coverage. Bears 25, Raiders 24. The Chicago Bears are now winners of 2 straight. This was not your classic Ben Johnson explosion game, and you needed a blocked kick to win it in the end. But I will say this, and I think it needs to be said. We need to stop. It's the fantasy football in us. It's a disease. We need to appreciate victories for victories. And I know Ben got a little testy, I think, with our old coworker Aditi on the sidelines when there was kind of a line of questioning.
I think I understand the miscommunication there, because I think Aditi asked, "Well, do you have to do things differently?" And I think Ben heard it as "you have to do things differently."
Right. Yeah.
Like I think Aditi asked a question, and I think like Ben heard it as like a suggestion. Like,
could you imagine, by the way?
Huh?
Could you imagine, by the way? It's just like, hey, Ben, I think you guys could be.
If that's all he heard, I could actually see him being like, "What the hell?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I actually think it might have been a simple miscommunication.
Well,
and I think, like, honestly, I mean, those have existed in college football forever. And like the only time they're like of any value is when shit like that happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's why
I don't know why we do them. Like they're either a big nothing burger or it's Nick Saban biting someone's head off. Like those are the 2 results, right? You know what I mean?
We did have an Ashton Genty breakout game, 21 carries for 138 yards. And
you mean his career didn't end after week 3?
Well, I think that we got a good glimpse of the entirety of the Raiders experience, right? This offensive line is not there. And we had a Bears defender break through the line and tackle him like 5 yards in the backfield. It was one of the fastest tackles per loss that I've ever seen. And so you get both sides of the coin there. And you have guys, Raiders are frustrating to me because Max Crosby was fantastic in this game. So good. And you have a lot of stuff going for, but they're just not there. They're just not there yet. They need another year of talent. They need another year of their owner being able to go into broadcast meetings and glean intel and help them out. And so eventually, I like next year, this is a fringe playoff team for me. But a lot's got to happen at the quarterback position. I think that there's some questions to be answered there. I don't know. All right, can we talk about the coach fight now?
Yes. Now I'm gonna walk in. Now I'm gonna stop Googling rivalry jerseys and
it's so good. In. We'll close out. Jaguars 26, 49ers 21.
So did you think that Liam Cohen was waiting until there were multiple people between him and Saleh?
No question. Have you ever stood next to Robert Saleh?
Because he walked right by him and didn't say anything.
Yep.
And then about
a couple guys behind you.
Later, and I consider myself like a connoisseur of schoolyard fights. So like I am a little bit of an expert in the field, if I don't say so myself. Been involved in them when I was younger. Was always a fan of them at recess, would always be, I mean, like I was one of those kids like where I was in trouble a bunch, but I was always near the trouble. You know what I mean? Like, so if something was going on, I was there, which probably, maybe that's why I'm a journalist, right? Like, cause I was always running towards the fire, not away from it, but like that felt to me like textbook hold me back, bro situation.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And what was funny was Saleh was next to a Jaguars offensive lineman and they seemed to just be having like a jovial conversation, if anything.
Like a nice exchange.
Yeah, it's like, oh, haha, you know how it is. But it's like when you say keep my name out of your mouth, which is such a weird thing. But you're in Will Smith territory, Chris Rock
territory. It's like a
Hardo
thing. You know what I mean? Like it really is. And I like Liam, but like I keep my name out of your mouth is keep like my
name out of your mouth.
It's just not a natural thing to say to someone. You know what I mean? Like it's something that sounds like you're hoping that gets caught on video.
I mean, yeah, there is a cowboy aspect to it. So I'll say this. So I wrote about the sign stealing thing.
I wonder how the Jaguars players think of it.
I don't think they care. That's the thing. I think Kyle Shanahan summed it up really well when he said, I think Liam's being a little sensitive about this. I don't think anybody else cares.
I
I
love how
think
matter of fact Kyle was about it too. Well, we
yeah, I mean,
care.
yeah,
We
but
definitely care.
I care. I mean, I
Yeah.
wrote 2,000 words about it. I stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning the other night writing about it. And the backstory here is that on Thursday, Robert Saleh had his coaching press conference, and
Which, by the way, Conor wrote a great story on this, so everybody should check that out.
well, thank you. It was one of the great non sequiturs in press conference history where he starts his monologue and he's like, "Well, Jaguars are a great team, young, fast, and they also have a very sophisticated way to steal signs." It just gets into it, talks about it for 3.5 minutes, and
Great.
that opened the floodgates to people like us. And so I texted a bunch of coaches and I was like, "Hey, how does this work?" And basically, the crude 90-second version of it, right, is that they use words that are uttered on TV tape. They use all 22, and they're able to isolate signals, and they can do live scouting, right, in a press box, right? And so you can write
Which
down
I
this.
think, like,
You should be able to do this. Part of the
falls
game.
under gamesmanship rather than cheating, probably, right?
Yeah, but and exactly, I felt what this is basically what Connor Stallions was doing, and it was totally fine and totally above board and totally legal. Had no problem with it.
Until
And
he started sending people to the other team stadiums.
I'm kidding. I just wanted to see what you would do. How far I could get into my Connor Stallions appreciation post.
I don't know. Does Liam Cohen have a season ticket package for some people?
I know we should start checking. But so the Jaguars just do it in a very sophisticated way, right? There's a way that you can database all this stuff, and you can basically say, we think about 75 to 90% of the time when we see this hand signal with this look and we hear this word, it's going to mean this defense. Okay. And if we do that, our check is this, right? So we come back and we call a different play and then right? So that was brought up on Thursday, and then Liam responds on Friday. And it was just so funny because I think the reason that Saleh did it was because he wanted the Jaguars to wonder whether he would change his signals. That's why I think he did it. And all of this then lumps into just a hilarious post-game scrum. I don't even know. I mean, the game was great. It was a good game. The 49ers couldn't come back quite. Christian McCaffrey's good in the passing game. This Anthony Campanale defense, holy smokes. I mean, he was maybe the undercurrent. Maybe he was the thread that was helping the Packers do it the year before. Jersey guy. But this all led to the post-game scuffle.
Anthony Campanale is like
Can't be.
Sort of like who I envision running like Bergen Catholic.
Well, hold on. I don't think it was, wasn't it Don Bosco? Let me, because that's a bad mistake to make. Yeah, it was Don Bosco. Yeah. Never call Bosco guys Bergen Prep guys. Never.
Wait, so he was at Don Bosco. Oh, so I was actually right.
You said didn't you say Bergen Catholic?
No. But I didn't know that he was high school. Was he?
Oh yeah. He was the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator for Don Bosco Prep before he moved on and coached at Rutgers for a couple of years.
So I'm like messing up a rivalry, whatever. But I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, we got Campy, man, Fairlawn. He's one of ours. He's one of our guys.
He definitely he exudes Jersey too. There's no question.
He did everything on Sunday except for leap off of Liam Cohen's shoulders and punch Robert Saleh.
I was gonna say like he sort of strikes me as the guy who would, like when they're nose to nose, would kind of like reach over and throw the first punch before the melee breaks out.
Oh, I love a good.
I don't think Saleh is the nicest guy.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think Saleh is the guy to be messed with in a fight.
I have stood next to him on several occasions for interviews, and like the moment where he stands out of the seat and you realize how much of an infant you are in the world is pretty humbling. Yeah.
I mean, he's probably what, 6'4", I would think.
At least. I mean,
I mean,
I'm
I'm six
short.
one and a
I'm
half, and he's
5'8".
noticeably taller than me.
Yeah. I mean, and you're a high school quarterback, Albert. So you're a big guy, sizable guy.
I don't know about that, but I'm not Robert Saleh, that's for sure. I'm more of a Liam Cohen build, I'd say.
Yeah, more of a Liam Cohen size guy. All right. Well, that does it for us this week on the MMQB podcast. Thanks for always sticking with us. Some days we get down some rabbit holes, but I hope that you feel like we feel. We're just talking to our friends. That's
And
that's what we get to
we're
do.
taking it back to middle school recess when there was an argument in the cafeteria that was about to be settled.
That's it.
Because that's
And then you
essentially
slam
what this
some milk
was,
on the
right?
ground and you tell them to keep your name out of keep my name out of your mouth. I don't like that. I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll
I
workshops.
just like I don't know if it was like this. Like I just remember how electric it was in like the 6th grade when you went out to recess and you knew there was about to be a fight out there.
Oh,
You know,
baby, yeah. Nothing better than that. You don't get fired up like that anymore. I've almost gotten into a few fights at Costco, and they're a lot less exciting when you're an adult, and then you're hoping that people don't pull their cell phones out.
Again, like I think Saleh had the look on his face that I would have if somebody challenged me to a physical altercation at my age, which is like, I've said this on the podcast before. I think it would take one of my family members being in danger for me to get into a physical altercation at my age. I think that would be the bar, right?
I think it would depend on the mood, but I'd just be like, okay.
Like, I think I'd even
like,
I think at this point in my life, I'd probably let a good friend of mine get his ass kicked before I'd step in. If it was a family member, that's different.
Albert,
unless that person was really being wronged.
Oh man, always want you in my corner, Albert. I'll try not to get in any dust ups at the combine, because now I know that you're not coming to my.
I got to avoid assistance. That Starbucks, you know.
Well, I did. Story for another day, but I almost did. I was rescued from a possible hands throwing situation at the combine when I was very young and very.
I think that was another keep my name out of your mouth situation, wasn't it? Now that we.
I didn't say that, but I felt it at the time. You know, I don't know exactly what I said, but you know, we all get a little fired up on beer. Well, I used to. I don't anymore, for good reason. But you know.
Well, no, I was talking about the Starbucks altercation this past year.
Oh, there was. Yeah. Oh, I was talking about my combine altercation. Yes, I think that the Starbucks altercation between Ian and Jordan Schultz did involve keep my name out of your mouth.
Yeah,
it's great.
So there you have it.
All right. Well, hey,
2025, a big year for keep my name out of your mouth.
But you guys keep the MMQB name in your mouth as you.
That's right where we wrap the show up.
As you decide.
We don't need to expound any further on that.
Yeah. We appreciate you being with us. YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Come back Wednesday. We'll have another one for you. Thanks. Bye.